Have they forgotten whose title they're trying to steal?
It looks like carrying out my plan will be a lot easier than I thought.
Disgaea 1 Complete is a remaster of one of my favorite games from the PlayStation 2 days, Disgaea, Hour of Darkness. Disgaea was actually the reason I became aware of Nippon Ichi Software and began to recognize their studio. Despite not playing Disgaea 4 or 5, I would consider myself a big Disgaea fan. I spent over 100 hours playing Hour of Darkness, another 200 hours playing Afternoon of Darkness, the PSP port, and another 50 hours playing Disgaea 1 Complete. I was excited when NIS announced Disgaea 1 Complete was coming to the PlayStation 4, since I get to come back to a game that brought me into the series. And of course, it's a game I love. At the same time, I was very hesitant about what changes outside of the graphical update would be included, as they were charging almost full price for it. Needless to say, my doubts were well founded. Disgaea 1 Complete is more like Disgaea 1 Complete Disappointment.
What is this?
Someone actually commented with that on one of my videos, so I'm stealing this line from you. Thanks.
Hey there, you atrocious fiend!
But before I get into why it's a disappointment, for you Disgaea newbies out there, you should know that Disgaea 1 is actually a good game. The gameplay is fun, the story is light, but it also has some moments where it tries to be a little deeper. If you like games with overpowered characters, you can make tons of them here. There are a lot of intricacies to learn when creating that Uber character as well, and many hours will be spent managing an amazing cast of party members. Accompanied by a great soundtrack, Disgaea 1 is an over-the-top game that I have played many times over, and each time I came back to it, I still enjoyed it as if it was my first time playing it. The actual problem lies in the price they're charging for the game in comparison to noticeable improvements they've added. Is the new content worth that $50 price tag when you can just buy Disgaea PC for less than $10? Or if you're like me and have the previous installments and ports, is it worth shelling out for what is basically the same Disgaea game with a better look? Outside of a graphical update, the biggest addition that was not included in any previous ports was the addition of 4 playable characters: Crimson Red, Crimson Blue, Crimson Yellow, and Asagi. The Prism Rangers are basically palette swap versions of the same subpar monster with one unique skill, Swift Justice, so they're not even fun to use. There also isn't any new cutscenes or a fight when recruiting them. You just pass a bill in Dark Assembly and they just appear in your party. Asagi is recruited in the same way, you just pass a bill without anything extra being added. They also treat her as a monster instead of a humanoid character, so her usefulness plummets. I got her level to be over 70, and she still didn't learn any unique character abilities, so she seems just as useless as the Crimson Rangers. The only worthwhile improvement was added recently through a patch that increased the statistician limit, which made maxing out your characters much faster. Leveling in Disgaea 1 is a huge chore, so this change really brings up the value of the game, but not nearly to where it should be. Other than that, no quality of life changes have been added, such as vertical throwing, unless you do the mid-turn trick, no monster throws, and no healer experience. It's unclear what other patches and changes they have in store for Disgaea 1 Complete, but as it stands now, it's not really worth the price. It's not unusual for a remaster to release with a $50 price tag, but normally in those situations, those remasters bring in enough changes to warrant it. Final Fantasy XII The Zodiac Age was one of the games that charged $50 on launch, but brought the International Zodiac Job System version to the West, which was previously exclusive to the Japanese market. Sega recently did a remaster of Shenmue 1 and 2 and released both those games on the same package for a mere $30. That's 2 games at a cheaper price than Disgaea 1 Complete. Disgaea has been ported and re-released way too many times for Disgaea 1 Complete to have any demand in the state that it's in, especially when you can just go to the PC version that contains roughly all the updates you'd want for cheaper. From what I can gather from the internet and the Japanese patch notes, there will be more patches coming in from NIS that will address more quality of life issues, such as cancelling an action after execution if the enemy dies, and retaining ranks after reincarnation. Even with these changes in mind, Disgaea 1 Complete's lack of new content gives me little reason to want to pay full price for the game. Maybe it'll be worth it once the game goes on sale.
You return after all this time and for a stupid reason like this?